I'm Christina Lopez-Aducci. Welcome back to At Home with House of Puff. With cannabis legalization growing around the globe, more and more couples are serving cannabis at their weddings. So today, I'm going to give you some tips for the best ways to serve wedding cannabis. It is the ultimate something new. First, something you might have not realized. Cannabis can actually be cheaper to serve than alcohol. That's because a little bit goes a long way. For the cannabis curious or beginners, plan for doses of only 2.5 to 5 milligrams. These low doses will delight novices while allowing for multiple helpings by your guests who are cannabis connoisseurs. I love to entertain, and of course, I serve cannabis. But not just to friends, at big events too. And one of our favorite parties to throw is our Hamptons Cannabis Soiree. Every summer, I throw a big bash for all of my cannabis industry pals at my house in the Hamptons. There's always a mix of cannabis connoisseurs and newbies, so I've had lots of experience learning what works and what doesn't. Pre-rolls are one of my go-tos for big events, and the chicest way to serve them is to have them passed. Serving them this way does a couple of things that your guests won't realize. First, it keeps them away from the kids. Second, it helps make sure people understand how much they're consuming. Put them on a beautiful tray like this, then spring for personalized matches that celebrate the happy couple. And most important, don't forget the signage. You don't want to depend on your waitstaff to let your guests know how big the doses are. Your wedding is too important, so use place cards to print out the strain, the terpene profile, and the potency you're serving. Then your guests can easily decide whether and how much to partake. I also always like to include a hemp wick for the best light and an ashtray for the burnt matches. You can include them on the tray that you're passing the pre-rolls on, as well as on your cocktail tables. And to ensure everyone's enjoyment, it's always best to designate a smoking section. By the way, for wedding cannabis, microdosing is the name of the game. You know how it is. When we celebrate, we tend to overindulge. So take that tendency into account and go for lower doses than normal. Note here that we're serving a 1/4 gram mini pre-rolls. They're perfect for big events. Just a note on sourcing here. Every locality has strict laws about how much cannabis you can buy at one time. So for big events, you need to plan ahead. That's because you'll need to start buying them well in advance of your big day so that you have enough. Now, let's move on to edibles. First, most of the food you serve shouldn't be infused. You don't want your guests going hungry because they're afraid to imbibe too much THC. I strongly suggest sourcing edibles from a legal provider whose products are tested for potency. Homemade edibles can be fantastic, but they're notoriously hard to dose accurately, and your wedding is no time for guessing. So the best option is to hire a caterer who specializes in infused treats. But depending on where you live, that might not be possible. If it's not, one of the easiest ways to serve edibles is gummies. To elevate their presentation, arrange them on a tray like petit fours. Again, just make sure to plan well ahead so you have time to buy enough. And of course, don't forget the THC signage. There you have it. You now have some great ideas for how to serve cannabis at your wedding. As I've mentioned, serving cannabis takes a little more planning than alcohol. I've only just touched on the ins and outs of sourcing and the importance of knowing your local laws. You don't want any disappointments at your wedding. So to get all the info you need, download our Ultimate Cannabis Wedding Planning Guide. Just head over to thedrawingroom.blog. That's our editorial site. You'll find our guide there. It includes all kinds of links to resources and a foolproof checklist to make serving cannabis at your wedding a snap. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on At Home with House of Puff.